Hello, I'm Steve Perry. I'm the author of the Jackdaw series of Elizabethan thrillers set in the London of the 1590s and featuring the idealistic young physician Nicholas Shelby and the enigmatic Bianca Merton, the tavern owner. One of the minor characters in the book is a dog called Buffle. This is the modern day Buffle, 5 months old. He comes with a very efficient shredder here. So rather than being upstairs in my word mine where my bookshelves are, down here in the lounge, my friends at Corvus have asked me to go through some of the books that are on those bookshelves that are particularly important to me, that I've kept and loved over the years. I learned, like many people, to love books at school in the school library. And I think the two that really stood out for me then, had me reading them over and over again, was Swallows and Amazon Stories by Arthur Ransom, and of course the Narnia Chronicles by C.S. Lewis. I still can't go anywhere near a wardrobe without thinking if I push aside the clothes, I'm going to see a snowy landscape full of adventure, excitement, and danger. Being a child of the Cold War, I suppose I would have inevitably, and being a journalist at the time, come across the books of John le Carré. Smiley's People, I think, is probably my favourite. The Perfect Spy coming a close second. I particularly love the character of George Smiley, the flawed, rather sad man, betrayed by his wife and very often by the people he's trying to fight for in protection of an England that he fears is under threat from the Soviet ideology and is also disappearing in a way in front of his eyes. Being a historical novelist, I suppose what really got me going in that particular genre were the books of Robert Graves, The I, Claudius, and Claudius the God. I watched the TV series when I was a young man. I loved it. If you haven't read it, it's The Sopranos with togas. I think the greatest writer present in the genre has to be Hilary Mantel. For me at the moment, this one's the best. Bring Up the Bodies, it's the second in the trilogy. I haven't yet read The Mirror and the Light, but I'm going to when I finish the fourth episode of the Jackdaw series, which I'm working on at the moment. Also, in the same genre, I really love the books of Sarah Dunham. She has the most wonderful prose, and picking a family like the Borgias, very much like Claudius, instead of being sopranos with togas, this is sopranos with tights and swords. But the Borgias are a fantastic pick as a subject to write about, and Florence a wonderful setting, and I love them. The fourth book in the Jackdaw series, which I've just mentioned, is The Saracen's Mark. It's just come out now. There's a fourth one I'm writing at the moment, if I haven't said that already. This takes the story away from London, from Bankside and Southwark, and part of it is set in Morocco, with which country Britain had a rather strange alliance in the 1590s. We were both in the fight against Catholic Spain. It starts off in Morocco. In the moment before they caught him, Adolpho Sykes was dreaming of oranges. It was an hour after sunset, the third night of the time that some amongst the Moors called Ushar, when the moon was almost full. In the gardens of the Kutubia Mosque, the sellers of holy text had packed away their books. The professional storytellers had departed, their audiences dispersed. From the high minarets, the muezzins had called the city to the Al-Maghrib prayers, leaving the Medina to the shadows and the scavenging dogs. He loved the city at this time of night. He felt enfolded within its protective red walls. A cooling breeze from the Atlas Mountains filled the streets, not with the scent of spices and human sweat, but with cleansing citrus. Until he'd come to the land of the Moors, Adolpho Sykes had barely seen an orange, let alone tasted the succulent flesh. But now, after 3 prosperous years in Morocco, this agent of the Barbary Company in London, its founding stockholders, the noble Earls of Warwick and Leicester, was ready to believe that paradise itself might smell like one vast orchard of orange trees. He had almost reached his destination, the city hospital at the Maristan al Mansour. Its high mud brick walls were barely 20 paces ahead of him. And then this agreeable reverie was shattered in a single instant. In that moment, Adolpho Sykes realized he had been a dead man from the moment he left his lodgings on the Street of the Weavers. What do you think of it so far, Buffle? Rough? 5 months old and is a literary critic.